What is under Casterly Rock? A gold mine, yes, but so much more. Let's take a look. Hi everyone, this is Robert. Welcome to In Deep Geek. If you like theories, background, history and lore about A Song of Ice and Fire, The Lord of the Rings and The Witcher, then this is the place for you. Welcome. This is another collaboration with the excellent History of Westeros. Please do check out their podcast and YouTube channel. There's a link down below. Casterly Rock, the seat of House Lannister, is more mountain than castle. In fact, the only building atop the rock, per se, is a single watchtower used for the Maester's ravens. This makes the rock itself, with its natural defences, the strongest castle in all Westeros, according to George R.R. Martin himself. It stands 3 times as tall as the wall, and looks out over the Sunset Sea, Lannisport and the mountains of the Westerlands. As grand as that sounds, today we're going to where there's little to no light at all, let alone a view. The Red Viper once commented that even the rooms for highborn guests have the feel of a dungeon due to the lack of sunshine, but some of the actual dungeons are likely a mile or more from the surface. The upper areas are reserved for the Lannisters, their noble guests and the like, with ample space to receive and entertain. Lannister lords can communicate disfavour to relatives and others by housing them in the lower-level rooms, which Tyrion refers to as the bowels of Casterly Rock. He claims his father did this to their most embarrassing cousins. The term bowels is actually used quite a few times to describe the depths of the rock. Another example is when Tyrion tells Jon that he used to go to the bowels of the castle to light fires and stare at them while thinking of dragonfire and fantasising about burning his sister and father. During his imprisonment, Jaime tells Catelyn that compared to some of the cells in Casterly Rock, his cell in Riverrun is a sunlit garden. Of course, this statement is fuelled by bravado, but it's certainly believable that the Rock has worse prisons and certainly deeper below the earth. Jaime even gives an example later on to Edmure this time. He threateningly brings up that they have oubliettes deep down in the rock. An oubliette is a small pit with no exit and no light. It comes from the French word oublier, which means to forget. You would throw someone into one of them and then forget about them. Jaime says some are so narrow that they fit like a suit of armour, so tight one cannot turn their head to see the rats gnawing at their feet. Grisly stuff. Not all of the cells are so terrible, though. The ones for highborn prisoners are not sunlit gardens by comparison, but they are perhaps not overly torturous. Aeron Damphair and Sir Hostine Frey have both been imprisoned there, though Sir Hostine said that he was not eager to repeat the experience. Lord Edmure Tully is to be sent there as of the start of the Winds of Winter, but he will likely be allowed greater freedom of the castle than Aeron and Hostine, assuming he makes it there. If he does, his wife, Lady Roslyn, is supposed to join him after she gives birth to their child. Thus, the Lord, Lady, and soon-to-be young heir to Riverrun could be among the valuables held within, if not under, Casterly Rock. All told, the Lannisters, combined with the Casterlys before them, have had 8 millennia or so to expand inside and below the mountain. We're told in The World of Ice and Fire that it is riddled throughout with tunnels, dungeons, storerooms, barracks, halls, stables, stairways, courtyards, balconies and gardens. Possibly the most impressive place in the rock is the Hall of Heroes, a shared tomb where legendary Lannisters are memorialised. Hundreds of suits of armour with full weapon kit stand proud through the hall, keeping eternal vigil. A weird echo of the Stark statues in the crypts, perhaps. But the most famous room is the Golden Gallery, where even the walls themselves are gilded. This room may be the source of the rumour in the Far East that the Lion Lord lives in a palace of gold. Though much of Casterly Rock is undoubtedly impressive, its most famous feature is undoubtedly its mines. They are spoken of even in Asshai, if not further east. They are considered the greatest source of gold in the world, which explains why the Lannisters have been so wealthy for so long. The active mines provide that wealth, while the inactive ones, as well as the ones yet undiscovered, provide mystery. It's likely that there are mines interspersed throughout the rock, some of which surely run quite deep. Though the mountain is still quite a productive source of precious metals, certain individual tunnels and shafts have been abandoned, and some of those in turn would have been repurposed for other functions. To be clear, on the show, Casterly Rock's gold mines run dry. Perhaps that will happen in the books, but there's no indication of it yet. There's also a weirwood tree hidden deep inside the rock, in a godswood of sorts. It's a queer, twisted thing, whose tangled roots have all but filled the cave where it stands, choking out all other growth. A clear metaphor for the way the owners of the rock once worshipped the old gods, but now have turned elsewhere. George R. R. Martin is very open in telling us where he gets his inspirations from, and for Casterly Rock it is the Rock of Gibraltar, an imposing, natural, freestanding rock at the mouth of the Mediterranean Sea. That has over 34 miles or 55 kilometres worth of tunnels inside it, and that's the result of only 200 years of work. The Lannisters and Casterlys have had thousands of years. As always, George R. R. Martin has turned his fantasy version up to 11. It's 3 times as long, 4 times as wide, and half again taller. Simply put, Casterly Rock is quite a bit larger. Which is good, because they obviously need somewhere to store all that gold. We're told of vaults filled with gold and other precious metals, coins from a veritable constellation of times and places, gems, jewellery, relics and artefacts. A quarter of the crown's gold was stashed there during the Dance of the Dragons, when the Greens divided it to aid their war effort and hinder Rhaenyra's. Sure enough, Team Black's lack of money was one of the biggest unheralded factors in determining the outcome of the war, though I covered that in more detail in another video. Less well known than the mines and money is Casterly Rock's harbour, called the Lion's Mouth. These huge caves formed where the rock meets the Sunset Sea and are perfect for ships to enter under protection. They are large enough for not just wharves but shipyards. This would come with the accompanying space for sailors to sleep, eat and store cargo. Again, impressive. We've never seen the rock direct from someone's POV in A Song of Ice and Fire, though George R. R. Martin has said that we will in future books, probably through Cersei's perspective. The nearest we've got is actually a dream, Jaime's, while his head was resting on the stump of a weirwood tree. Appropriately for the size of Casterly Rock, Jaime's dream is several pages in length, perhaps the longest in all of A Song of Ice and Fire. It occurs on the way to King's Landing from Harrenhal shortly after he's lost his hand. He's got a fever from infection, he's had dream wine to drink, and he falls asleep resting his head on a weirwood stump. It's no surprise he has extremely vivid dreams, and even seems conscious of them before slumber takes him. In his dream, he's in control and aware that he's in the depths of Casterly Rock, but something is wrong. As he's thinking he should be going up, presumably to the family quarters, a group of 12 hooded figures drive him at spear point downward towards the bowels of Casterly Rock. Eventually they reach a watery chamber he doesn't recognise, but his hand is there. He dreams his family is there, but wishes he had a sword because he's certain something terrible lives down there. He fears it in a manner similar to Jon Snow's dreams about the crypts of Winterfell, though he's certain that it is his home. His dream father says, "I gave you a sword," likely a reference to Oathkeeper, which he gave to Brienne. He looks down and there is a sword at his feet, barely submerged, and when he picks it up, it ignites with a silvery blue light. Brienne is with him too, swearing to protect him as she did to Lady Catelyn. 6 of the hooded figures remain unrevealed, but 5 are his former Kingsguard brothers under Aerys II, and the other is Rhaegar, who blames him for the death of his children, while the White Knights castigate him for killing Aerys, the king he swore to protect. Whatever else we get from that dream, it is clear that Jaime at this point is deep in conflict with himself regarding honour, duty, oaths, and perhaps most of all his own family and identity. Perhaps if he felt better about himself, he'd have dreamt about going up, after all, towards the seat of Casterly Rock which he was born to inherit, but now he is in the Kingsguard, and not just any old member, the Lord Commander. Not long after the dream, Jaime angrily rejects his father's expectation that he leave the Kingsguard to become the Lannisters' heir once more. But perhaps even more intriguing for us now is that as his family fades in the dream, he worries about creatures in the hidden depths. The fear Jaime feels is most likely to be symbolic, more related to his personal conflict than an indication of monsters in the depths, but it does make you wonder. In vast spaces such as Casterly Rock's depths, there would be life. Flora such as whatever the Heart Tree outcompeted, and fauna such as bears, wolves, lions and bats, according to the World of Ice and Fire, though George R. R. Martin has indicated the days of wild lions living inside the rock are likely gone. The Lannisters do have a private menagerie down there. This is where Cersei placed her hand in a lion's mouth and dared Jaime to do the same. There's no other description given, but it wouldn't be a menagerie without a lot of other animals. That lion has since passed, though apparently once many caged lions were kept beneath the rock. Perhaps they still are. Might there be other creatures? The children of the forest are said to have lived inside the rock in ancient days. They tell Bran that even they, with all their years, have not explored all the tunnels available to them. Could there be tunnels and caves connected to the rock that still have a few children living in them? Might the rock be connected to a much wider network of tunnels across Westeros? Because when you think about it, the beings most connected to living in caves or constructing cave systems in hollow hills are the children of the forest. Think of Bloodraven's Cave, or the Winterfell Crypts, or even Storm's End or the Hightower. These date back to the Age of Heroes, when the children were around. All we get from the World of Ice and Fire is a simple statement that, before the coming of the first men, it seems likely that the children of the forest and the giants made their homes in the great sea-carved caverns at its base. Simply put, the first residents of the caverns beneath Casterly Rock were the children and the giants, not the Lannisters or the Casterlys. That brings us back to where we began, and the claim that Casterly Rock has never been taken by an outside force. It has been taken from within, however, by no less than Lann the Clever himself. There are many versions of that legend, but in most of them Lann makes use of the tunnels to take the rock from inside, unleashing a variety of schemes against the Casterlys until the castle was his. 2 of those stories involve setting animals loose within, one with vermin, the other with lions. Might the tunnels be what undoes Casterly Rock again? We have someone who many fans consider to be an echo of Lann the Clever in Tyrion. He has already killed the Lord of the Rock by climbing up through secret tunnels after all, and he is undoubtedly, well, clever. Given the sheer scale of the tunnel network, it's certainly possible that there's another way in hardly anyone knows about. Or perhaps there are no entrances the size of a full-grown man, but one large enough for Tyrion, or the aforementioned Children of the Forest. Maybe. Let us also not forget that Tywin once put Tyrion in charge of all the drains and cisterns of Casterly Rock, and that Tyrion took the task very seriously. He apparently did a great job of it, so we can confidently assume that he knows how the waste gets out, and therefore presumably how other things could get in. That is how he captured Casterly Rock on the TV show, after all. The imagery works very well. As an echo of Lann the Clever, Tyrion, a lion, with the help of the Unsullied, who are named after vermin like rats and worms, Grey Worm for example, climbing up through the drains to take out whoever is left to defend the rock. Lann released the lions and vermin through the tunnels. Tyrion climbed through tunnels to kill his father on the privy, which would have led to the drains. Yes, it would all be very narratively satisfying. And obviously a tactic Dany has used before in attacking Meereen. For most of its history, the most important thing beneath Casterly Rock was undoubtedly the mine. It is what gave House Lannister its wealth and power, and helped make it what George R. R. Martin considers to be the strongest castle in all Westeros. But perhaps for this story, the forgotten tunnels will be the most significant, the sewers and those carved out millennia ago by the Children of the Forest. Perhaps Casterly Rock's doom has been waiting for it all this time, falling from an attack from within, not outside. The House of Gold, infested by vermin from the sewers. If you'd like to see more A Song of Ice and Fire videos like this, there's a link to my playlist on the left of your screen now. Or to support this channel, thank you. There's a link to my Patreon page on the right of your screen. Thanks for watching. That's all for this time. I'll see you again soon.